There's a special kind of humiliation in timing your morning to somebody else's heartbeat. Mine used to sync to a boy who never looked up. Every weekday at 8:05, I'd carry a paper cup up the library steps, oat latte, extra hot, no foam, because I knew where he'd sit, how he'd tilt his head when he read case briefs, how sunlight made his hair look like good intentions. I told myself it was small, harmless devotion, a ritual, a way to say I see you without making a scene. The last Tuesday I tried, the lid hissed when I pressed it down, and the heat fogged my glasses so I couldn't see my own reflection. That felt appropriate. He was at the same table, same cologne, same careful distance in the eyes. When I set the cup by his elbow, he glanced up with that polite half-smile like I'd just dropped a stapler. "Thanks," he said. "I'll transfer you." I lied. No need. He said he'd send it anyway. I said okay. He looked back at his book. I looked at the space between his hands and the cup, the way he never reached too far toward either. Then I heard my own breath, shallow and too fast, the way it gets when I've been running on fumes. That's the part I don't usually admit. I'm not built for fumes. Half of me is very human and very tired. The other half runs on a currency nobody sees until you're bankrupt. 10 kisses is the joke I tell to make it sound whimsical, but the truth is messier. I need warmth that's real, mouth to mouth, palm to wrist, forehead to forehead, simple contact that says yes, I'm here, not thanks, I'll transfer you. It's not about heat. It's about consent and honesty, and the way skin can quiet a storm when the storm lives under your ribs. I carried all that home after class, the emptiness, the cup, the ghost ache under my collarbone. My roommates were on the floor doing eyeliner and damage control. "You're pale," Mina said like it was a crime. "Vitamin D deficiency," I said, "and dignity deficiency." I told them, not the whole story, just the part where I was done. No more coffee, no more orbiting, no more accidental detours past his lecture hall that accidentally aligned with his schedule down to the minute. Mina stared at me like I'd announced a weather change. Jules snapped a hair tie against her wrist. "Good," she said. "Let someone meet you halfway for once." I went to my room and pulled up his chat anyway. Muscle memory. The last message from him was a question about a mug he'd borrowed weeks ago and never returned. Something petty lodged under my tongue. Keep it. I typed it and deleted it and typed it again and sent it. Then I did something I should have done months ago. I turned off his notifications. The silence felt like a window opening. 10 minutes later, my hands started to shake, the way they do when I've gone too long without enough touch to anchor me. I squeezed them under my thighs and breathed the way my therapist taught me. Count 4 in, 6 out. It helped. So did the picture on my wall of a cheap constellation map, every star named after somebody who kept going. That night, I slept with my phone in a drawer and my face pressed into a pillow that didn't know his name. I woke up raw but lighter, like I'd finally set down something only I'd been carrying. By noon, the campus group chat had already spun up a rumor. There was a coach teaching guys how to play distant to make girls chase. Someone dropped screenshots, scripts, timers. Don't text back for 6 hours. Mirror her affection minus 20%. I stared at the thread until the words blurred. So it wasn't just him. It was choreography. By the next day, the rumor had grown legs. Screenshots were everywhere. DMs, group chats, private stories. A guy from the debate club claimed he'd seen the so-called coach in person, holding workshops in a coffee shop near campus. The post even had a photo. Some smug, hoodie-wearing, self-proclaimed dating guru with captions like, "Play cold to make her chase." My friends were eating it up like it was a true crime podcast. Mina scrolled through the thread, wide-eyed. "He's selling response templates," she said. "Like literal text scripts. You pay him and he tells you when to ignore someone you supposedly like." "Professional gaslighting," Jules muttered. "Love it." I half laughed. It sounded too dumb to be real, until I saw a username I recognized. In the screenshots, one client's chat handle was cropped, but not enough. The initials were there, LD. My pulse stumbled. I knew exactly whose those were. Liam Davis, the boy who could turn politeness into an art form. I locked my phone and set it face down on the table. "Probably just a coincidence," I said, but the words tasted wrong. Mina raised a brow like she knew better. The air in the cafe went fuzzy, filled with the smell of burnt espresso and cheap pastries. All I could think about was every time I'd waited for him to answer a message, every carefully timed read notification that used to make my chest twist. None of it was random. He'd been following instructions. I left before my coffee cooled. On the walk home, I tried to laugh at it. Who pays to be emotionally unavailable? But beneath the joke, something meaner pulsed. He hadn't been detached out of mystery. He'd been studying me like a problem to be managed. When I got back to my dorm, my roommates were gone. I sat on the bed and opened our old chat, scrolling through months of stilted conversations. I typed, "Good luck on the exam tomorrow." He texted back, "Thanks, don't stay up too late." I reply with, "Never do." Except I always did. Now knowing there been a manual behind it all, every word looked sterile, like it had passed through disinfectant before reaching me. My chest buzzed again, that same low static that builds when I've gone too long without touch, without anything real to pull me back into my body. I pressed my palm against my own heart and breathed. 4 in, 6 out, just like before. I should have let it end there, but I needed to see what I'd been chasing, so I opened his profile. His latest post was a picture of the sunrise from the track field. Caption, "Some days you start over." I stared at it for too long. Maybe that was the problem. I'd fallen for a performance and kept calling it sincerity. The comments under the post made it worse. "At Coach's Life, proud of your progress, King. Keep leading with control." That was the name from the screenshots. The coach, the script master, the person he'd been taking advice from all along. My hands went cold. I closed the app. For a second, the silence roared. If love was a game, I'd been playing by rules someone else wrote. I didn't talk to him for a week, not out of strategy or pride, just because I couldn't find a version of myself that still wanted to. Every morning, I still woke at the same time, my body expecting the walk to the cafe, the quiet choreography of handing over that cup. Habit is its own hunger. Now there was just empty time, and a buzzing in my bones that caffeine couldn't fix. By Thursday, the craving hit like static behind my eyes. Most people think loneliness is an emotion. For me, it's a chemical. My skin starts to feel too tight, my thoughts loop, my breath stutters like it's waiting for contact that doesn't come. 10 touches a day keeps the storm quiet, handshakes, hugs, anything human. But you can't exactly tell your classmates, "Hey, mind if I siphon a little warmth before lab?" So I settled for washing my hands in hot water and pretending it helped. Mina noticed first. "You're twitchy," she said, dropping onto my bed. "You detoxing from something?" "Yeah," I said, "bad decisions." She squinted, studying me like I was a project she couldn't quite solve. "You ever think maybe you're addicted to the chase? Not him, just the idea of wanting." I thought about that long after she left. Addiction, wanting, it all felt too clinical for what lived under my ribs. The truth was simpler. I wasn't addicted to Liam. I was addicted to being seen. And now that the illusion was gone, I couldn't tell where I ended and the performance began. By Friday, campus had moved on to new gossip. Somebody caught the coach running a confidence boot camp in the gym basement. People laughed, said he looked like a washed-up YouTuber. I told myself that should have been satisfying. It was. That night, I tried journaling, something my therapist had suggested for grounding. I wrote down everything I wanted to say to him, the questions I'd never asked. Did you ever like me, or just the version that followed instructions? Did you stop yourself from reaching for me, or did you never want to? Halfway through, my phone buzzed. A message, his name. Liam texted, "Hey, you left your notebook in the design studio. I can drop it off if you want." I stared at the screen until the words lost meaning. The timing was too neat. If she pulls away, initiate contact in a neutral tone. That was straight from the leaked guide. My throat went dry. I typed, "It's fine, keep it," then deleted it. Wrote thanks, deleted that too. Finally, I sent nothing. Silence was heavier, but it was mine. The next morning, the notebook was on my doorstep, wrapped in a brown paper bag with a note tucked inside. just 3 words in his handwriting. I stopped following. For the first time in days, I couldn't tell if the tremor in my chest was from hunger or hope. Either way, it meant something was still alive. I wasn't planning to go looking for him, the so-called coach. But when the universe throws you a coincidence too sharp to ignore, you stop pretending it's random. Saturday afternoon, the cafe near campus was packed with exam crammers and couples. I was halfway through a latte I didn't want when I saw him. Same smug hoodie, same cheap charisma from the screenshots. He was sitting at the back table, talking to 2 freshmen like a salesman demoing a soul. I didn't think, I just walked over. "Are you Coach X?" I asked, voice steady enough to surprise even me. He looked up, scanning me the way men like him do, gauging how much pushback he'll get away with. "Depends who's asking." "I'm one of the girls you broke." That got his attention. The freshman looked between us, nervous. He raised a hand, dismissing them with a rehearsed grin. "Gentlemen, take 5, coffee," on me. Once they were gone, the grin dropped. "You're blaming me for your bad luck with men." I sat down. "No, I'm blaming you for teaching men that manipulation is a personality." He chuckled. "Manipulation, it's strategy. People like rules, keeps the chaos out of love. Except it's not love if you have to count your replies." He leaned back, folding his arms. "You sound emotional." I smiled. "That's funny. So did the last guy you coached, right before he lost his scholarship." That made him blink. Not a big reaction, but enough. I slid my phone across the table, the screen bright with evidence. His forum posts. The same lines he sold for money. The ones that broke real people into scripts. "Guess you forgot about metadata," I said. "You recycled the same file templates from your old business account. You left your name in the doc properties." His smirk wavered. "What do you want?" "Nothing, just to tell you you're done. I sent everything to the student union. They're writing a piece for the newsletter." He stared, then laughed, quiet, bitter. "You think anyone cares? Everyone wants an edge, I just sell it." I stood up. "No, you sell cowardice dressed as confidence." As I turned to leave, he said, "You don't actually believe any of them will stop using my stuff, do you? People want control. They'll just find another me." I paused, my hand on the door. "Maybe, but they'll know what to call it now." Outside, the wind was colder, sharper. My phone buzzed, Mina's name lighting the screen. "You actually did it." "Yeah." "You're insane. Also, I'm proud." I texted back a single heart, then pocketed the phone and kept walking. The adrenaline made my palms hum. For the first time in months, I wasn't shaking from absence. I was shaking from momentum. I passed a storefront window and caught my reflection. Same face, same exhaustion, but different posture. Upright, grounded. Inside my chest, the static had shifted. Not gone, but quieter. Turns out, confrontation is its own kind of touch. By Monday, everyone knew. The student paper dropped an exposé titled "Love by Algorithm" inside the campus coaching network. It wasn't subtle. Screenshots, testimonies, even a list of names blacked out except for one Coach X. The comments section was chaos, people arguing about free speech, dating strategy, cancel culture. I didn't care. For the first time, the silence around it had cracked open. Then, during my evening class, a message slid into my inbox. Liam texted, "Can we talk?" I read it 3 times. The rational part of me said no, leave it. The rest of me, the part that still hummed whenever he crossed my mind, said maybe closure was overdue. He waited by the stairwell behind the design building. It was quiet there, dust floating in the light from a single window. He looked different, less polished, like he'd stopped trying to be curated. "I heard what you did," he said, "about the coach." I leaned against the railing. "Yeah, someone had to." He nodded, hands in his pockets. "You were right." The words hung there, heavier than they should have been. About what? About it being fake, all of it. He told me how to act, how to pace replies, how to withhold, said girls like the chase. He gave a short laugh that didn't sound like humor. I guess I liked the excuse. It made it easier to be scared. Scared of what? He hesitated, eyes on the floor. Of needing too much. I didn't know how to want someone without feeling like it would hollow me out. When he told me to hold back, I thought that meant control, but it just turned everything cold. I didn't speak. He looked up, searching for something on my face. Anger, maybe, or relief. I stopped following him weeks before the leak, he said quietly. That note in your notebook wasn't a trick. I just didn't know how to tell you I wanted to start over. My heartbeat thudded once, twice. Then I asked, and what would that look like, starting over? He took a step closer, slow, careful. No scripts, no pretending distance is maturity. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to reach out, to test if touch could mean something again. But my body still remembered the empty weeks, the way I'd fed myself silence until it hurt less. So I said, then don't say it, show it. His throat moved like he'd swallowed something sharp. Okay. He turned to go, but paused on the step. You were the only person who ever looked at me like I was real. That scared me more than anything. I almost said me too, but the words wouldn't form. He left, and I stayed there, tracing circles on the metal railing until my fingerprints blurred. Outside, the evening light stretched long through the window. My reflection hovered faintly on the glass, familiar, but changed. I wasn't sure what came next, but for the first time, I didn't need someone else to decide the packing. Maybe this was what healing sounded like, footsteps fading but steady. That night, I couldn't shake his voice. It echoed like the hum of power lines, steady, dangerous if you touched it too long. I didn't know how to want someone without feeling hollow. It was the kind of sentence that cracked something quiet inside me. I tried to distract myself, folded laundry, reorganized my desk, even watered the dying plant by the window. But my skin still buzzed, restless in the dark. When I finally lay down, the ceiling swam. My body ached the way it always did after too many days without contact. Not a metaphorical ache, a literal pulse under the skin, like static begging to ground itself. At 1 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went for a walk. The air was cold, sharp enough to feel honest. I passed the lit windows of the library, students hunched over books, lives still orbiting grades and deadlines. I used to be like them before everything became a study in restraint. Halfway down the path, I heard footsteps behind me, familiar ones. Couldn't sleep, he asked. I turned. Liam stood there, hoodie pulled tight, hair messy in a way that didn't look rehearsed. Walk helps, I said. You. Same, he hesitated. Can I walk with you? I nodded. We fell into step, quiet except for gravel crunching underfoot. The air between us felt fragile but not heavy. After a while, he said, you were right about the scripts. They make people forget there's a person on the other side of the message. I smiled faintly. You don't say. He winced. I deserved that. We stopped at the edge of the athletic field. The floodlights hummed overhead, moths circling the glow. He shoved his hands in his pockets. I'm trying to unlearn it, the detachment thing, but it's hard. It's like muscle memory. I looked at him, really looked. The guarded posture was still there, but softer now, like the edges were fraying. You don't fix muscle memory by thinking about it, I said. You fix it by moving differently. He glanced at me, searching. How do I do that? I took a breath. Ask before you reach, and when you do, don't flinch. He hesitated, then held out his hand, palm up. Not confident, hopeful, careful. I placed mine on top, slow, letting the contact settle. The warmth hit like sunlight after a storm, too bright, too sudden, but real. The air between us went still. No sparks, no dramatic music, just a shared pulse, two people who'd spent too long pretending indifference was safety. He whispered, you're shaking. So are you, I said. We stood like that for a while, not holding tight, not pulling away. The kind of touch that didn't demand, just confirmed. When I finally let go, my hand felt lighter. He smiled, a small one, uncertain but true. Guess that's progress. Guess so. We walked back in silence, but it wasn't the same kind as before. It felt like something growing roots instead of walls. By the time I reached my door, the static under my skin had gone quiet. Not gone, just resting. Maybe that's what healing really was. Not fireworks, just the absence of noise. By midweek, campus life returned to its usual chaos, students gossiping, professors pretending not to read the gossip. The coaching scandal had already become yesterday's drama, but for me, the noise hadn't faded, it just shifted frequencies. That morning, I got an email from the campus newspaper. Subject line, follow-up interview request. The writer said they were doing a second piece, focusing on the people who'd helped expose the network. They wanted my perspective, a personal voice to balance the data. For an hour, I stared at the email. Every part of me resisted. Talking meant reopening something that had just started to heal. But another part, the part that remembered how it felt to stay silent, clicked reply. We met at a small cafe near the edge of campus. The reporter was a sophomore with bright eyes and ink-stained fingers. She thanked me 3 times before even starting the recorder. I just want to understand what made you step forward, she said. I thought about lying, saying it was righteous anger or justice, but honesty felt easier now. I got tired of being someone's experiment, I said, and I didn't want anyone else to feel like data. She nodded, scribbling notes. Do you think the system's really gone? No, I said, but now people can name it. That's the start of everything, numbing what hurts. When she asked if I regretted it, I almost laughed. I regret not doing it sooner. She smiled. That's brave. It's not brave, I said. It's maintenance, like changing the lock on your door after someone been inside too long. After the interview, I stayed behind, finishing my tea. The sunlight through the window caught the dust in the air, small, floating, visible only because the light chose to find it. Then I saw him outside. Liam. He was across the street, standing awkwardly with a folder under his arm. I raised my hand before I could think, and he crossed over. You looked busy, he said. Just an interview. He shifted his weight. About the article. Yeah. Good, he said quietly. You should tell your side. There was a pause, long enough to feel like a question neither of us knew how to ask. Finally, he said, I talked to some of the guys who used those scripts. They didn't even realize they were hurting anyone. It's like they were taught empathy was a weakness. Was, I asked. He nodded. I'm trying to help them unlearn it. That caught me off guard. You're teaching now. Not teaching, he said. Just a talking, listening. He smiled, small, careful. It's weird, but it helps me stay honest. Something warm flickered behind my ribs, pride maybe, or something softer. That's good, I said. Keep going. He looked at me then. Eyes steady. You too. The words were simple, but they landed somewhere deep. We walked out together, parting ways at the crosswalk. The light turned green, and for a brief second, our reflections overlapped in the shop window, 2 people still figuring out how to stand side by side without losing themselves. When I got home, Mina was on the couch, scrolling through her feed. They posted your interview early, she said, grinning. You sound like an actual adult. I laughed, the sound easy in my throat. Don't tell anyone. For the first time, I didn't mind being seen. The story wasn't over, but at least now I was the one writing it. The world didn't change overnight. The articles got shared, commented on, screenshotted, forgotten, like everything else online. But something quieter lingered under the noise. People started talking differently. Messages sounded less like strategies, more like questions, real ones. For me, change came smaller, slower. It started the morning I stopped dreading my reflection. I woke early before my alarm, before the campus stirred. The sky outside my window was gray-blue, soft as breath. The air smelled like rain. I made coffee just for me this time, not for anyone else, and it felt absurdly significant. The first sip burned my tongue a little, grounding me. The mirror caught me mid-motion, mug in hand, hair a mess. I didn't flinch. For months, I'd avoided mirrors because they reminded me of how hard I'd tried to become palatable for someone else. Now I just looked. Saw the dark circles, the slight tremor still hiding in my wrist, the proof that I'd survived it all without vanishing. There was a message on my phone. Liam texted, "Library opens early today. Thought you might want to see it finished." I almost ignored it, habit, but then curiosity won. When I reached the library, the air inside was still damp from cleaning. They replaced the flickering bulbs, so the light cut through the tall windows in gold slants. Rows of fresh paint lined the walls, pale green and steady. A few students moved quietly between shelves, and at the far end, under the skylight, Liam sat with a stack of donated books beside him. He saw me and stood up, awkward, like he wasn't sure if he should smile. "They're opening a new section," he said. "For resources on consent, communication, stuff like that. I volunteered to organize it." I blinked. "You, organizing a section on communication?" He winced, irony noted. The corner of my mouth lifted. Good irony, though. We walked the aisles in silence. The air smelled of paper and polish, like renewal. He stopped by a table where someone had left an open journal with a sign, "Anonymous Reflections, share what you learned." I picked up a pen, hesitated, then wrote, "Forgiveness isn't a door you open for someone else. It's the light that finally gets in when you stop barricading your heart." He leaned in, reading quietly. When he looked up, his eyes were different, no defenses, no practiced calm, just open. "That's yours." "Yeah." He nodded, voice low. "It fits you." We stood there a moment longer, the morning light pooling between us like an unspoken truce. Then I closed the journal and said, "Come on, I'll buy breakfast. This time you're not paying me back." He smiled, real unguarded. "Deal." As we stepped outside, the sun broke fully through the clouds. Warmth hit my face, startling after so many cold mornings. The campus buzzed awake around us, but I wasn't rushing anywhere, not chasing anyone. For the first time in a year, the day didn't feel like something to survive. It felt like something I'd built myself, quiet, steady, honest.